Let's hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Pocket with Jo. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It's Monday, June 9th. We have game 3 of the Stanley Cup finals tonight between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. I'm Jo of SportsGrid, and it's time for Pocket with Jo. Let's kick off just looking at what we have seen thus far. Double overtime in the last game between these two teams in Edmonton with the Florida Panthers and Brad Marchand with that goal at the end to get the win. It was a great game. If you missed it, then go back and watch some of those highlights. So we made some money with the overtime. We also made some money not on that total. I did think we're going to see that lower scoring one, but let's get to work. Let's make some freaking money today out here on the ice. So great to see you guys all popping in. Let's do this. So game number 3. Series tied 1-1 apiece. Now I did think this series would go nice and deep. And if you're looking for my series bets, do pop on over to YouTube below this video. You'll see all of those series bets sitting there. We've seen Connor McDavid be able to get those points on the board. Brad Marchand getting us those goals. So working away at those series bets for sure. This coming back to Florida, you got to think how this travel is going to affect both of these teams. You've got a long trip for these guys. Now that last game was Friday. We're sitting here at Monday, so they have had plenty of time to get back down to Florida for Florida and Edmonton to get down to Florida and get ready for this game tonight. So let's look at the odds and see where we can go. We are looking here at, of course, the Florida Panthers being the favorite on their home ice. The Florida Panthers are a minus 142 favorite. We have the Edmonton Oilers coming in at plus 118. It's hard to say no to that plus money with how tight these games really have been between these two teams. And we got a total of 6.5. No, I can't get there behind the Edmonton Oilers. I do think going into Florida, I think Edmonton's going to struggle with the crowd noise, with that fan base behind the Florida Panthers in the last change here. We know Paul Maurice is so good at making those adjustments. And I think with the last change in Florida's hands, they'll be able to get the win tonight. Now, that being said, I do think they split again here in Florida. So if we don't see Florida get the win tonight, I will be coming back in on them for game 4. But I expect this to be Florida's game to win, go up 2-1 in the series, and Edmonton to answer back and find a way in game 4. Now we look at this total of 6.5. 6.5. Great plus money to the over, right? At plus 104. It looks so tempting with what we've seen thus far between these two teams, combining for 16 goals between game 1 and game 2. We had 7 goals because of the overtime. In game 1, went 3-3 apiece into OT, so 7 goals there. And then we did see the 4-4 game going into double overtime in that last game, game 2, for a total of 9 goals. So 16 combined goals out there. So it feels like it would be crazy to take the under 6.5, right? Well, I don't think so. At minus 128, the under 6.5, that's just way too much juice. But I do expect this to be that lower scoring game. Now, I know I was writing the lower scoring game in the last one, but you've got to think these coaches have to be frustrated with how quick those goals are coming in the first period. Those first period goals are absolutely flying out there, and then we're seeing the lockdown. And that was really reinforced by the overtime in the last game, being able to go to double overtime without anyone scoring. Both of these goaltenders standing nice and tall. But Stuart Skinner taking some slack with that overtime goal by Brad Marchand, saying it was a weak goal out there. So Skinner's going to want to look for that bounce back, even though I think he played fantastic. We know Bobrovsky has been solid between the pipes as well. I do think if you're looking for an over, we can look again to that first period for those goals to come hard and fast in that first period. Both teams to score, I think, would be a solid way to go. I would look for both teams to be able to get on the board and then things just slow down. We're also seeing the trend of the Florida Panthers being able to really dominate that second period, making the adjustments between periods there, and then them winning the second. So if you want to play around with anything like that, if we do see that really high scoring first period, I will be coming back in on the under 1.5 in the second. So that leads me to where I'm going for this game. I told you I think the Florida Panthers win, and the juice is just, it's crazy. It's minus 142 on that money line for the Florida Panthers. I don't think this is an overtime game. I think this is a game we get the empty netter, and Florida wins this one 4-2. I'm looking at the Florida Panthers on the puck line to be able to win this game at plus 172. If you think we're going to get 3 goals in the first period, both teams to score, but 3 goals because Florida answers twice, I would look at both teams to score or the Florida Panthers. I wouldn't take both, you guys. The Florida Panthers on the puck line in the first period, minus a half a goal at plus 160. I feel a little bit more comfortable with the Florida Panthers puck line in the first period at plus 160 than I do for both teams to score, because I do think it's going to take Edmonton a hot minute here with the last change of Florida and the crowd noise in the Sunshine Coast. So I think we're looking here at the Florida Panthers winning that first. We know Edmonton is so strong at making their way back in these games. So if we do see this super overreaction by the books, even though I think Florida can win this because of an empty netter 4-2, if we see Florida go up by 2 goals and we're getting a great price on Edmonton, if they're giving us a plus a 1.5, I probably will sprinkle on it if it's great plus money, because we know how quickly this could be a 1-goal game out there. These teams are so evenly matched. I absolutely love what we're seeing out of both of them. So I do think the travel is going to come into play. You know, you got over 3,000 miles between these two locations, between Edmonton and Florida. So one heck of a journey. I'm expecting the defense to be a leg up on the offense, these goaltenders to stand tall, and this one to be that lower scoring game. So I know it's hard after what we saw in the last. So where am I going to go with some points in this one? Let's start looking at some of these players and their points. Now, that power play has been converting for both of these teams, more so for the Florida Panthers. Really liking what we're seeing out there on that power play. So looking at some points and assists now. The points and assists and the power play points. Looking here, we've seen Barkov very quiet in this series thus far, and I do think we're going to see that step up for Barkov. Now, let's just pull up the Florida lines, because the Florida Panthers, it is their second line that is scoring on the power play, and I want to make sure here that we're grabbing guys, if we're going to do any combination on that power play, that are on the second line and the second power play together. I don't want to combine first line and second line guys. So you're looking at the first power play unit for the Florida Panthers is Sam Reinhart, Barkov, Tkachuk, Seth Jones, and Ekblad. When we look at the second line, this is where the production's coming. It's Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, Evan Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, and Nate Schmidt. I'm actually really impressed with what we've seen out of Nate Schmidt. He's been getting a ton of assists out there. So looking at the second line, this is where we're going to get more value as well. The top line guys, we're going to have to pay more for their power play point. Like you look at Sam Reinhart, you guys know I have that love for Sam Reinhart out there on the power play. He's been quiet in the playoffs this year, not really stepping up to the level we had seen in prior years. But, you know, you watch Sam Reinhart be able to net a power play goal tonight. His power play point at plus 250. But when we look at that second power play unit with Bennett, Verhaeghe, Brad Marchand, Evan Rodriguez, and Nate Schmidt for the power play point is plus 550. You guys know I would rather look at these guys and get more value out there. Rodriguez coming in at plus 400, Brad Marchand at plus 400, Verhaeghe at plus 400, and Sam Bennett at plus 370. We know how elite Sam Bennett has been out there. The power play point, I do think, could come into play for him, but everyone on this line. So if you're just looking at doing a point combination, when we look at that second line as a whole for the offensive units out there and taking them, it's Rodriguez, Bennett, and Matthew Tkachuk. So Matthew Tkachuk is on the top power play. I would look at Bennett and Rodriguez here, and you guys know that we can parlay them just for their points. So let's just look at 1+ points between these two guys. Now, I do think Barkov needs to step up. We're not doing first period points. Just let me get to the right one for the point tonight. So give me 1 second. It's got me in the first period points, which have great plus money, but I don't want to look at a first period. Barkov is minus 196 for a point tonight. Again, he's being quiet. I look at that power play point for Barkov, even though he's on that top line. I do think Barkov really needs to bring something different tonight. So when we look at Rodriguez and Brad Marchand. Now, on that second line, we have Bennett and Rodriguez. So that's where I want to go, not Brad. We're going to leave Brad off of there. off there. So Rodriguez and Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett's minus 148 for a point. Evan Rodriguez is plus 102. So when we just do a 2-leg parlay with those guys, you guys, that's coming in at plus 152. Line mates on the same power play, second line, second power play, and that's where we're seeing that production. So I do like that. If we look at the Edmonton side, Edmonton lines, just let me pull it up. You guys, I always make sure there's no changes when I'm giving you these because that would suck. If they've made any movements. Now, Ryan Nugent Hopkins is questionable, so we have to be very cautious with him tonight. And we've got Connor McDavid and Corey Perry up on that top line right now. So Evander Kane, Leon Draisaitl on that second line. These lines are all producing. We know we're getting a lot out of them out there. Frederic, Henrik, and Connor Brown on that third line. I like that third line as well. Janmark on the fourth line. So there is production out of all of them. You guys know for the series I'm riding with Evan Bouchard, and I do love what we're seeing out of him. Darnell Nurse is really starting to come to play, and Jake Wallman. He's been super uber aggressive out there to the point I don't know how he's not getting more penalties. So if you're comparing Florida to, Sam Bennett. Everyone thinks he's dirty, but you got to look at that last game with that hit on Skinner. He was pushed into Skinner, and Skinner really took out his leg as well. So if it was any other person, any other player, other than Sam Bennett, because Sam Bennett does have bad rep right now, the refs are probably told to call if he is in that crease falling on the goaltender, because we know that he does that. But if it was any other player, I don't think it would have been a penalty. I know Matthew Tkachuk automatically came over and they celebrated that fact. Skinner, thankfully, was okay for the Edmonton Oilers. But I do think if you're really comparing, look at Jake Wallman in that last game, hands to the throat of many of those players with his gloves on, yes. But Jake Wallman really stepping up as that defensive bug out there, in my opinion. So that is where you're looking at those lines. When we look at the top power play, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, again, questionable what is going to happen with him tonight. But Corey Perry, Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, and Evan Bouchard. That top power play unit is scoring, but we do have Evander Kane, who was fantastic in the last game, opened up his scoring, and Henrik Wallman on that second power play unit. So I do think there's a couple places you can look around. We've been riding with Bobrovsky for his save shots on goal. I do think Edmonton is able to get a whole bunch of shots on him again. So Bobrovsky's numbers, 25.5 minus 118 to the over. With the travel, you could see a little bit more of a limited ability for the Edmonton Oilers to get these shots, especially with Florida focusing more on defense. I do think both of these teams need to focus more on defense. We had double overtime. We didn't see those goals. So I do think this is the lockdown one, continuation of that double overtime. So I'd be very cautious, even though I think if we're going to see the scoring open up, it would be in the first. I would be cautious that both teams to score, and that's why I like Florida better in the first period on that puck line. So if you're looking at Skinner's save shots on goal today, it's 26.5. It's minus 132 to the over, which is really interesting that you're going to have to lay that much juice on Stuart Skinner after he's been taking so much slack. I do think his number is really fair. Edmonton has a solid defense, so they're going to look to give him that protection. So I'm going to stay off goalie props today. We're actually getting hits, and I love to see this. This is something FanDuel didn't have the last couple of games out there for us to bet these defensive players to come out nice and strong for their hits, and it's exactly where I would go. The problem is it's way too much juice, so let's just see if we can parlay something here. Bear with me while I look at this right now. I wanted to parlay two of these players for their hits, and they say hell no. Evander Kane over 4.5 hits out there tonight on the ice is minus 164. You guys know I can't bet that, but I do think if you can find an alt line for Evander Kane for his hits, he can get 6 hits in this game. I do think this is a defensive hard-hitting game. We look at these last couple of games, there's been over 50 hits by these players coming out strong. Sam Bennett's number is 4.5. It's minus 152. So I wanted to parlay Evander Kane and Sam Bennett for over on their hits. If you can alt those numbers, definitely look at alting those numbers. I do not see them going under these numbers tonight. I really do think we have such a hard-hitting game. Now, there are some specials over on FanDuel as well. Each team to score 1+ goal in each period, coming in at plus 850. There's no way I'm going to touch that. The Florida Panthers to score 1+ goal in each period at plus 185. I do think if a team is scoring in each period, it will be the Florida Panthers tonight with home ice advantage here. I think they have the upper hand. But again, I think Edmonton can split this series here in Florida. So if you want to look at the Florida Panthers, we know they've been strong in the first and the second. It will come down to that third period if they're able to light the lamp in the third. I'd rather just look at Florida puck line in the first period, and then Florida to win in overtime at plus 500. I can't go there. I think this is a game that does not go to overtime. We've got save specials as well. Stuart Skinner to record 8+ saves in each period. It's a pretty fair price for 8+ saves in each period for Skinner. That's coming in at plus 180. I don't hate that look if you're looking for Bobrovsky for 8+ saves in each period. It's plus 240. So the books are telling me right here, they're expecting defenses to really lock down in this game, at least in that second or third period. We saw limited shots in overtime as well. So you guys, while these numbers look great, 8+ save shots on goal for each of these goaltenders in each period, especially with this plus money, I feel like the books are just begging us to jump in on a prop like this. I do foresee one of these periods for one of these teams being a 6-shot game as these defenses really step up. These players get in front of the net. Now, let's just see under the shots if we do have those block shots on goal, because you guys absolutely know I freaking love the block shots on goal market, and that is where we're going to go for some of these players. So Seth Jones for 3+ block shots coming in at plus 260. Sign me up all day long. I do think Seth Jones can come out, get those block shots. We're looking at Ekblad for plus 280 for 3+ block shots. And Evan Bouchard coming in at plus 300 for 3+ block shots. Look at the block shot market tonight, you guys. I do think it's a very solid way to go. John Klingberg here of the Edmonton Oilers as well. 3+ block shots at plus 330. So I'm loving this market more than I'm loving those goal scorers tonight. Again, that's Seth Jones for 3+ block shots for the Florida Panthers at plus 260. Quarter unit on each of these. Aaron Ekblad of the Florida Panthers for 3+ block shots at plus 280. Evan Bouchard at 3+ block shots at plus 300. And John Klingberg for 3+ block shots at plus 330. That is where I'll go. If you want to look at Darnell Nurse, I don't hate him, but I hate the price at plus 190 for 3+. And Jake Wellman, it's just way too juiced at minus 185 for the 3+. You'd have to take Jake Wellman up to 4+, but unfortunately, FanDuel doesn't have it. So if you do have it on your book, it will be a solid way to look. Now, if you wanted to look at laying a little bit of juice with any of these guys, building a parlay, you can only build a parlay on FanDuel for the block shot market when you're looking at the same number of block shots between these guys. So if you want to do the 3+, you look there. I would do them separately because you're getting great plus money. If you want to go to the 2+ block shot market, Seth Jones is minus 125. Aaron Ekblad is minus 115. Evan Bouchard plus 115. And John Klingberg plus 110. So that is where I would look at the 2+ block shot market, parlaying those guys together. Ekholm is coming in at minus 150. We know he's going to step in front of the puck for the Edmonton Oilers for sure. So it's going to be a great game, you guys. I'm just going to have a quick look at your comment. We will do the recap, and then let's make some freaking money. You're taking Evans for a point tonight, Evan Bouchard and Evan Rodriguez, McDavid for 2+. Ashley, I love where you're going. I've got Bouchard for the series for 7+ points in this series. So I'm kind of being cautious with him each and every single game. Rodriguez is on that second power play unit out there for the Florida Panthers. Love where you're going with that. And Connor McDavid. If Connor McDavid's getting the 2+ points, we're chipping away at that 14+ points out of Connor McDavid as well that I have been riding for this series to break Wayne Gretzky's Stanley Cup final record. So I love where you're going with all of that, Ashley. Florida, you're going to lay the 1.5 with them, and I'm with you. I think it's a 4-2 game. So laying that 1.5 is going to be great. McDavid will have a tougher matchup tonight on the ice and won't be the favor. Yeah, I think it's going to be a hard matchup for him. For sure. You're going to take this one to fly over the 6.5. Better defensive matchup for the under. Yeah, I think the Florida Panthers, they can win this in an under game for sure. Barkov's main goal is a shutdown McDavid. Yeah, Barkov needs to come out and slow McDavid down out there on the ice. He needs to be all over him. For sure. Ryan Nugent Hopkins is a game time decision, big defensive factor. Absolutely. Could we see, if Ryan Nugent Hopkins isn't in this game, could we see a 4-1 for 0 win for the Florida Panthers? Maybe, because without that defense, Florida is going to want to look to get up first, and then they'll look to lock down and hold this lead. So it's going to be very interesting. Bouchard had 7 shots in the first game. But how much of that had to do with the overtime? Yeah, I think there was a couple shots in overtime. Not many, though. I think he did hit 4 or 5 shots in regulation. I'd have to go back and look at those numbers, because I always look at the numbers before we flow into overtime, so we make sure we get the right one. Joe, I'm not taking this to overtime tonight, but I wouldn't blame any of you for taking this game to overtime. The first 2 games going to overtime, this is the first time since 2014 that we have seen back-to-back overtimes in the Stanley Cup Finals. So it'd be wild if we can get overtime tonight. That is for sure. These lines are juiced because of 3 overtime periods in the second game. Absolutely. Bouchard and Jones don't block shots. So yeah, but you're going to have to look for these players to start stepping in front of the puck in what I think will be that defensive effort for sure. Yeah, if you guys can hit that like button, I would appreciate it. Blue, you cash both the overtimes. Yeah, it's freaking great cashing those overtimes. And now it's probably going to happen. So a couple of things I looked at in the last game, and we know they didn't hit. I looked for the 2-2 in reg. I looked at the 3-3 in reg. Unfortunately, we went 4-4 in reg. I do think if you believe in overtime, hit the 2-2 and hit the 3-3, you guys, if you're going to hit overtime tonight, because you're going to get like plus 2,600 on those bets, where the overtime bet's coming in at plus 340. So play around with your bets there. I do think there's a couple of different ways to make some money, but you do risk with what I did in that last game, not hitting the 4-4. I just didn't see that coming. I do think we've got the defensive battle out here. So you guys, recap time. It's going to be a freaking great game. Join me on game time decisions with, I believe, Kevin Walsh or Joe Ranieri later today. I will be there. I think we go under the 6.5. Again, with this kind of juice, I can't touch it. I'll take the Florida Panthers in the first period on the puck line, laying a half a goal at plus 160. I'll take the Panthers to win this 4-2. I will ride that exact score. The exact score, I believe it was plus 2,200. I'm going to have to go back and check my ticket at what I got it for. But because of that, I'm taking the puck line. Give me the Florida Panthers laying 1.5 goals for the full game at plus 172. If I'm looking at which is better, the puck line full game or puck line first period, it's first period all day. I'm going to put more money on the first period than I will the full game, because I think Florida first period comes out just so strong here at home on their home ice. And then we will see adjustments out of Edmonton. We know Connor McDavid is freaking dangerous. The Edmonton Oilers are dangerous when they are down by 1 goal and they have pulled their goaltending. And I'm going to be holding my breath for the empty netter for Florida. So it's not going to come easy. These two teams are so evenly matched. Look at the block shots on goal market tonight. I do think I'm staying off both of the goaltender safe shots on goal, because I'm looking for those block shots at defensive battle. I'm going to go with the 4-2 exact score. If you think we do get that 4-2 exact score, you guys know you're probably best putting a half unit on Florida 4-2, half unit on the Edmonton Oilers 4-2. So you're not caught there with the exact score and not getting the right side of that. And if we hit one of them, we're absolutely laughing. So now I'm thinking of it. I'll probably put that in. I do expect it to be Florida, though. Puck luck will come into play. Goaltending will come into play. Defense needs to absolutely own this game. So you guys, all the best and all of your freaking bets out there on the ice. Game time decisions tonight with Joe or Kevin. I will be jumping on there for any last minute bets. I think the power play points are coming. I'm looking at the second line for their power play points for the Florida Panthers. Sam Bennett, Evan Rodriguez for their power play points tonight. I do think they get on the board. You could just look at their points and parlay those together. You get plus money there. As for Edmonton, you know, Connor McDavid, Evan Bouchard, you're looking at these guys really stepping up. Corey Perry has been stepping up as well, and I could see him getting a point tonight. But you guys, all the best in all of your bets. Thank you so much for joining me here for Puck It with Joe. Do me a solid. Hit that like, hit that retweet button, and hit that subscribe button over on YouTube so you do know when we go live. Our Let's Talk Some CFL videos will be out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I kind of screwed up this weekend, forgetting that it didn't go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I didn't put out one for the BC Lions and Edmonton Elks. So apologies. I didn't even get my bet in, you guys. I thought it was a Sunday game. It was a nighttime Saturday game. We were able to cash on the Montreal Alouettes. On the spread, we were able to cash the Saskatchewan Rough Riders for their team total. We also got Calgary. We got a couple of players for their props in there too, but Calgary to come out with the BC Lions. High scoring affair there. And no, not Calgary with the BC Lions. Calgary with the Hamilton Ticats, and then the BC Lions and the Edmonton Elks. I was looking to ride the over, and it got there, but I did not get my bet in. So stay tuned for Let's Talk Some CFL. It will be posted on YouTube as well as X on those CFL days. Stay tuned for my Cup of Joes. We'll be returning this week. I promise you, it's just been kind of crazy. So you guys, I appreciate each and every single one of you for joining me here on the daily. Let's make some freaking money. And thank you, Blue. You guys make me laugh with that comment. I'm never going to live down that comment of that guy saying, you know, she's just eye candy here and someone's in her ear. There's no one in my ear. So I wish some days there were, because I put a lot of work and research into that, but I couldn't come here and sit here and tell you guys what to bet if I wasn't betting it. And I didn't come up with it myself. So you guys, all the best in all of your bets. Let's make some freaking money. I will be back here on Wednesday. I believe the next game is Wednesday. Let me just double check that. Wednesday for Puck It with Joe. It makes sense. It's Wednesday. No, it's Thursday. Thursday, June 12th. How are we going to be June 12th already on Thursday? 8 p.m. Eastern matchup between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers for game number 4. Can hardly wait, you guys. It's going to be a great one. So on Thursday, you will get Puck It with Joe. You'll also get Let's Talk Some CFL. And then between that now and then, stay tuned for Game Time Decisions today, which I'll be on. I'll also be on Sports Rage later tonight, so don't miss out on that. Always fun with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. And then the Cup of Joes on the daily. You guys are the best. Let's make some freaking money. I'll see you on Thursday. Yeah, I can't believe it's going to be Thursday. One of those theories, you take the plus money every game. I don't blame you. Live betting this series, fantastic. Jumping in on a team that goes down by 2 goals plus a 1.5, or straight up on the money line if you have the guts and you have the extra bankroll. So you guys, let's make some money. I will see you back here on Thursday for Puck It with Joe. Hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Puck It with Joe.